guys, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today I put on my summariest, poofiest shirt because we're going to be chatting through my June TBR, and this video is sponsored in part by Simon Tea. Now for the month of June, I actually have quite a bit going on, so I tried to be realistic with what I actually plan to read for this month. That being said, I am really looking forward to all of the books I put on my TBR, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. The first book that's on my TBR, I'm very excited to be finally getting to, as it's part of one of my all-time favorite middle grade series. I've read so many books that are out in this world. In fact, I'm just about caught up, and I will be officially caught up once I read this book, and that is Keeper of the Lost Cities Unlocked. This is the 8.5 within the Keeper of the Lost Cities series. Again, one of my all-time favorite series out there. It's just so charming, full of friendship and adventure and just magic and everything you could possibly love. But this particular book is a collection of a variety of things, from additional world building elements as well as novellas that are going to be bridging books 8 and 9, as well as some additional information surrounding some of my personal favorite characters. But if you're not familiar with the Keeper of the Lost Cities series, in this series it centers on our main character Sophie, who in the first book essentially discovers that she's actually an elf. And this comes at an obvious surprise, but also a bit of a relief to her because she also has telepathic abilities that she has been hiding her entire life. At the beginning of book 1, she's essentially swept away from the human world and brought to the elven world. There she discovers more about her powers. She also begins attending a magical school and begins to make a bunch of friends that continues to grow and grow throughout this series. This is definitely a classic sort of chosen one story. You follow Sophie as she grows into herself, her powers. There's so many wonderful components to this series as well, from found family, so many different friendship dynamics that I absolutely love seeing explored throughout all of the books. The magic is really interesting and well built upon itself, and the overall conflict and evil center to the story continues to expand in a really fascinating way. There's also just a lot of discussion on politics and power, and I've obviously read and loved the 8 books that are already out in the series. I can't wait for the next installment out in this world. So in the meantime, I'm really looking forward to reading the Unlocked installment just to get a little bit additional world building as well as that extra content. If you have not started the Keeper of the Lost City series, I totally implore you to do so. Honestly, just fantastic. Again, one of my favorite middle grade series out there, and I really think it's perfect for a huge slew of age ranges. It's entertaining and intense, and if you love sort of a magic school setting, that's definitely a huge part, especially at the beginning of this series as well. I also want to shout, they have really cool box sets that are available for you guys to pick up. You can get books 1 through 3 in this great paperback set. But yeah, I love this series, and I'm really excited to be partnering with Simon Tea to be able to chat about them. But this is the first book that is on my TBR. Next book that is on my list is Lost and the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. This is Aiden Thomas's newer release, and I have been dying to pick it up ever since it came out in March. I absolutely adored Cemetery Boys, written by the same author. It was one of my favorites of last year, so I have high hopes that I'm going to quickly fall in love with the characters and the story of this one as well. This is actually a Peter Pan retelling, which really intrigues me. It's set in the Pacific Northwest, and it essentially follows our main character Wendy, and 5 years have passed since she and her 2 brothers disappeared in the woods near their home. Wendy was the only one to return. Fast forward to present day, more children are beginning to disappear, and I think Wendy's kind of drawn back into this mystery. This sounds dark and eerie, and I have a feeling this writing style is going to be really luscious, especially with that Pacific Northwest setting. I've heard excellent things about this. I already love the author's writing of the first book I read of his, so this is definitely on my list to read for the month of June. Next up is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This is the first book to a new fantasy series and is actually a debut. It also has such strong positive reviews and is full of so many tropes that I personally love and adore. It is a dual perspective story. It also has queer romance as well. This is set in a world full of murder, espionage, and rebellion. One of our main characters is Terrain, and she is a soldier. She was basically taken as a young child and raised to bleed and die for the Empire. The only connection and family she has are her other soldiers, but now her company is being sent back to her homeland to quell a rebellion there. And she quickly realizes that blood ties might be a bit stronger there than she initially anticipated. defeated. We also follow our main character Luca, who is looking for a turncoat, someone who's desperate enough to walk the bayonet's edge between treason and order, as well as turn the rebels towards peace, also achieve her ultimate mission, which is to dispose of her uncle off the throne within the empire. This just sounds so good. I love a dual perspective story, and I really feel like this is going to be full of so much action. I also appreciate, while it's definitely like war and combat, I feel like there might be a political thriller element to this as well, more political maneuvering, which is some of my favorite things to encounter within fantasy. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I have high hopes, high expectations, so we shall see. Next book on my list is a bit shorter, but I do feel like it's gonna pack quite the intense punch, and that is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. This is a translated work, and it kind of has a dystopian-esque setting to it. It's essentially set on an unnamed island, and their objects are disappearing. For the most part, everybody who lives there doesn't really notice these disappearances, and if you do, that's actually more of a problem for yourself and your family, because there are individuals called the Memory Police tasked to ensure that the populace does not remember anything going away. Our main character is a writer, and at the beginning of the story, she realizes that her editor is actually in danger. She decides to hide her editor under the floorboards of her house, putting both of them in danger. And it's only her writing that kind of keeps the memory of what's going on alive. This sounds, again, very intense and dark. I also really appreciate this sort of vague, unnamed island setting. This is a very beloved work of fiction, so I feel like this could be a new favorite. I've been reading more speculative fiction this year, and I've been really enjoying it, so we'll see. The next two books are both recent releases I just have not been able to take my eyes off of. The first one is The Master of Djinn by P. Djeli Clark. This is a new release set in a steampunk-inspired Cairo at the turn of the century. I do know that there are a few short stories that I should probably read before reading this, so those are also on my TBR as well. And this essentially follows our main character, who is the youngest member of the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities. However, she is no rookie, and actually saved the world this past summer. So when individuals of a very powerful alchemic brotherhood begin to disappear, she is put on the case, and with the help of her girlfriend and some additional colleagues, she essentially is trying to solve this mystery. This just sounds like a political thriller. I love the steampunk setting. I think that sounds so cool. And in general, I love this idea of an agency kind of trying to solve and save the day. I've heard excellent things about this author's short stories that kind of are connected to this world, as well as the early reviews of this recent release are so strong. So I feel like this could be a lot of fun. I'm hoping for some romance, some action, and just something that will be a page turner. And the next book that's on my TBR is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwen. This is another first book in a new fantasy series. John Gwen is also really known for his Malice series, which perhaps I should read first, but I do feel like the synopsis of this is a little more up my alley, as it is a god-centered fantasy story, but this is essentially set in a world that has been destroyed by a war between the gods. And from the ashes of this chaos, civilization has begun to rise again, and individuals can seek power by looking for the bones of these now dead gods, claiming them for themselves. This is said to be a story of revenge, war, and conflict. And particularly, we follow three different perspectives that say their journeys have a chance to change the world as we know it. Multi-perspective story influenced by the gods, as well as just the Norse mythology influence of this. Just sounds super cool, if I'm being honest. It's definitely a longer one, but I feel like if I stay focused, I can definitely finish this month as well. And the last book on my TBR I feel like deserves a bit of a drum roll, and that is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I finally have gotten here. I finally am on the fourth book of my Stormlight Archives read. The first three were rereads for me, but this will be the very first time I'm encountering the Rhythm of War story. I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm excited. I feel like this is going to be an emotional time. Truly, I have no idea how the story can escalate any further, but I know in my head that Brandon Sanderson is going to do it. I'm really looking forward to picking this up. I do feel like this will be a read that'll probably span 2 months, but it's finally happening. It only took me half a year to get here, but we're here, and this book is just stunning. Wow. I haven't even taken off the dust jacket. I haven't been wanting to touch it. I've been avoiding spoilers like the plague, and I haven't been spoiled yet. Please please don't spoil me in the comments. But I'm finally reading Rhythm of War. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll hopefully have some reading vlogs surrounding this reading experience as well. But this is the last book that is on my June TBR. Alrighty guys, those are all the books I plan to read for the month of June. Let me know down below some books you hope to get to this month, as I would love to know, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!